Well, hey everyone, welcome back to the cabin. I've got a video that I did the other day and I'm going to teach you all how to level like the pros do. Just a few tips from the days gone by. You know, I just wanted to say a little bit about the tools that I use when I'm actually laying some of the buildings out that I'm building or doing any kind of landscaping and things of that nature, which is basically a level, a rod or a measuring stick. Okay, this one actually telescopes out up to 16 feet, and a stand. Now, a lot of people have seen me use this and they have called it a transit. Now, there's a difference between a transit and a level. A transit will actually look in different directions. It can go left and right. It can also go up and down. A level will only plane horizontally. You cannot turn it up and down. This is a level. Okay? So, but now there are certain things that you can do with a level. When you're looking through the optics of this level, there is a vertical, kind of like a crosshair when you're looking through the scope on a gun. And within that, there is a horizontal cross line or hair in there as well. Then on the top there's a short one, and on the bottom there's a short one. Now, with the field of view that you have, you could actually look at a building and tell whether the bottom is actually plumb with the top by sticking a ruler or a rod on the side of the building like so, and you're looking from that direction. You're looking here. Whatever mark you read right here, you can actually move this all the way up to the top and put it there, and you would be able to look just without even touching anything. Just kind of raise your eye and follow your crosshair up, and whatever the mark is, if it's too much, okay, if you're reading over here, then that means the wall needs to come in that direction. So by just looking on the crosshair of the field of view that you have within that optics, all right, you can look up and down the crosshair that's vertically and actually do things that you can kind of do with a transit. All right, you can even look down. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to see really close to you, but you can, if you set up far enough away, you can actually zoom in, okay, and zoom back out to be able to see the bottom, because it's the field of view is going to get wider as you back off of it, right? So there are certain things that you can do with a level that the transit will also do, but there's also things that the transit can do that you can't do with the level. Now, like I said before, this is a really nice, this outfit that I bought is from Bosch, but this will telescope out, and then it locks in place back here. Let's see, where am I? By this little button right here, you can actually push it in and then lower it. But it will lock in place. Then you can go up here and do the same thing. Run it out. It measures on the back and it measures on the front as well. Okay? And these numbers are in 1/4 inch increments because when you're leveling out ground, you know, you're not going to get, I mean, you could look in between and get to an 1/8, and then possibly on the bottom or the top side get to a 1/16 on those big black marks in there, but you're not going to be doing anything like that. Now, when we were shooting the pins in for the workshop down there, and we still have some we're going to have to do, you want to try and get it in the same area of that black mark every time. Okay, if I'm off a 1/16 of an inch or you know, something like that, I'm not going to worry about that, okay? But I want to try to get it as close as I can. Now, this tripod right here, it's got a screw mounted in the middle of it, which screws up into the bottom. We'll set this up here in a minute. Screws up into the bottom of this level. And then on the very bottom of that, you can actually put a plumb bob, comes with that, so that if you are going out to, let's say, a job site and you're working day in and day out at that same site, and you drive up a 2x4 really deep down into the ground and then cut it off about a couple inches up and drive yourself a pin, that they call it. You know, it could be just a piece of a finish nail. Drive that up in there where you can extend that plumb bob down, and you can actually sit this thing up on the same point each and every time. Okay, that's really important when you're doing like work with a transit or something. You set up right across that, you read out through here. Now you can do the same thing with this. You read out through here because it's got a dial on it, but a transit has multiple dials on it. Anyway, and you can turn certain degrees this way and that way, certain degrees up, certain degrees down. I mean, you can almost see straight down with a transit because of the way that it's made. But yeah, that's what that little string in there is for. That little hanger is to be able to set up over a point. Now with this, you could turn, you could read whatever the dial is on the mark, and if you needed to turn 90 degrees, even if you weren't positioned the same way as you were the time before that, whatever that dial would read straight out, okay, on your mark on the side, you could turn 90 degrees from that and still be, you know, the same distance, turning, you know, 90 degrees from what you read on the little arrow, the indicator that's on the side. But anyway, these are really nice to have. I think I paid, I don't know, about between $300 and $400 for all three of these. Okay, it wasn't as expensive as you might think, but this is really, really handy for doing things, like I said, for layout on landscaping or putting buildings in, especially if you have a large area that you're trying to cover. Alright, this is it right here. There's really nothing to it. It's basically just like the scope that you would put on your gun. The optics are probably a little bit better in it though. This will actually focus, okay, your optics right here if you're looking far or looking near. These right here can focus just a little bit and turn your machine just a little bit at a time. You can turn it left or you can turn it right. Now the way that you can use this dial right here, see this dial actually turns. Well, there is a mark right here, if you can see that, okay, with whatever you were reading. Okay, if you wanted to turn 90 degrees, let's see, what does this say? This says 20 right here, okay? If you wanted to turn and go this way 90 degrees, then that thing would be positioned right there, and you would just rotate this around, okay, until you got to whatever degree mark you needed, and then you would be 90 degrees from where you started. If you will look inside right here, it's kind of hard to do backwards, but you might be able to see a little bubble in there moving. What that is a mirror reflecting down to a little bubble that's actually right here. That's how you level this machine up. You looking through the optics and you keep adjusting these feet that are right here. You keep adjusting them until you have your machine exactly level. If I sound like I've probably done this before, I have. I actually spent several years doing field engineering for a company that built wastewater treatment plants, and so we were on, you know, maybe a 5 or 10 acre site as we were building, and it was our job to go out, lay out the buildings where they needed to go, and, you know, do the landscaping. If they were putting in, you know, large pipe, we would have to dig the hole, make sure that it had fall from this point to that point, you know. So field engineering, that's basically what it is. You take the blueprint, then you go outside and you make it happen. Anyway, so when I first decided that I was going to start building, and the other cabin that I built, I purchased these right here, and they have been invaluable to me. Now, you can do the same thing with a water level. If you're on a big 10-acre job site, though, you might have to have a really long tube, but this allows you to look across a long stretch and be able to tell whether that rod in that position down there is the same as it was up here, whether it's lower or whether it's higher. So it's really nice to have something like this when you're building. Anyway, I just wanted to kind of explain the difference between what a level and what a transit is. So remember, this level can only turn in this direction, that's it. But a transit can not only turn like this, but a transit would be able to turn and go like this. So that is the difference between the two of them. Okay, so if we're going to set this thing up, first thing we'll do is we'll unbuckle our feet down here, get them loose. And these are adjustable, but we're going to go ahead and just drop them out to their full length. Now that one right there, I'll just set down, and I'll drop this one out, and then this last one. Okay, what I'll do is I'll spread those out so they all look about the same, and then I just kind of look across the top of this to determine what I think is close to being level. Then what I'll do is I'll step on this side, I'll step on that side, and then on the front. Then I'll kind of check it again. Kind of looks level to me, maybe a little bit more right there. Okay, if you can see it, this little thing that I'm pushing up is going to meet the hole in the bottom of this. I'll screw that up in there. Now, I'm not going to do it real tight yet, but this little hanger right here is what I told you. You can move this to where it kind of is hanging and you're kind of halfway sitting up over your pin, right? Now, what I'm going to do is, let's say that all of my work is going to be in that direction, so I'm going to be looking that way. I'll take two of these things that I'm going to use to dial in my level. Actually, I'll put them horizontal from me. That makes the other one away from me so that I can go up and down and sideways to get level and all set up. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and tighten that up right there. Now, we're going to look through our tube. Now if you can look and see that bubble in there, it is probably as close as I can get it. So now, once my level is set up, I need to establish what my grade or my elevation is going to be. So if I know what that's going to be first off, then I will go and I will set this right down on top of that. I will read through here, and whatever that reading is becomes my baseline for, or my benchmark for everything that I'm going to do. Okay, every time I set up, I have to reread the height of my level. Okay, and I will use that mark. Okay, the next time I come in there, I may not set the legs up exactly right, but once I get the machine level, I set this back in there, I read that mark, and then that becomes my baseline or my benchmark for wherever the level is at that point until I tear it down again. That's what I want to continue to read. Now, if I read higher, if I go out, let's say, and this is higher, then that means I need to come up in order to be able to be where my mark is, right? If it is higher, then that means I need to come down with the dirt or whatever it is that I'm working on so that I read the same thing. So it kind of is backwards, right? So like I said, if right here, let's say you're reading 5 foot, okay, which is this mark right here, okay, but this is what you're reading, then you are about 3 inches too high. You need to come down. All right, same thing as if you're reading lower, you need to come up. So that will tell you how much dirt, gravel, concrete, whatever it is that you need to fill in that area in order to maintain being level. Like I said, you can do the same thing with a water tube. You pour water in one end and you hold that to wherever the mark is or wherever you want your level to be, and the water will be actually exactly level in the other end of the tube, and then you mark the water line at the other end because water seeks level. So regardless of what container you put it in, okay, it is going to be level from this side to that side over there. But yeah, this is how these tools work, and like I said, I could set up and I could read something that was 16 feet deep, all right, or I could read a grade that was dropping 16 feet. Anyway, they're pretty cool to have, so you know, if you do any kind of building like I do, you might want to think about investing in something like this. Like I said, they're not that expensive. Now, for me to get a transit, yes, that would have been quite a bit more expensive. I'd probably been looking at maybe on the cheap side, $700 to $1,000. I'm just guessing, you know, but there's a whole lot more in a transit than there is in a level. Anyway, yeah, so that's how that works. I just thought I would explain that because I do get comments from time to time, and a lot of people are not aware that there's a difference. But they'll just look at this setup and they'll say, well, hey, can I borrow your transit? Or, hey, can you come bring your transit and shoot something in for me? And then I can either say yes or no, and then I have to explain why. You know, I can't do that. So that is the difference between the two pieces of equipment. Well, friends, you know, from time to time I'll get comments about where's the other dog. Well, she's laying inside. A lot of times she doesn't want to come out when he will follow me just about anywhere. But of course, I raised him from a puppy. We got her when she was a little bit smaller than that, but we've only had her for 2 years. But I've had him, like, you know, since he was this big. But you know, this has just been a little bit of tool talk. And I plan on doing some more. I did one here recently. If you're interested in electrical wiring, click up here in the top right hand corner on how I explain the difference between finding basic faults with a meter. Friends, thanks for stopping by. We certainly do appreciate it. We look forward to seeing you back up here at the cabin again next time.